I used my network, my personal brand, to raise finance for my property business. And I, 20, now I raised around 2.5 or 2.8 million. If you look at the people who made that 1%, they did it because they worked hard. They also being persistent. They never give up. Something which I always had throughout my life is to never give up. But you don't need to know it. Your role is to be the CEO, to be the captain of the ship. And then you find the right people to help you to navigate that journey. So I always say, if you are reluctant to ask somebody money for your project, don't ask them. But go for a coffee or beer with them and say, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm into properties now and I'm doing amazing projects and I'm raising money and I use the money to fund this, and then I give them X amount of returns. Oh, the biggest lie is you need a lot of money in real estate. You don't.
You can start with nothing. Sree Varma joins me here today. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. Look for Sree Varma. Really appreciate your time here today, Sree.
Thank you for inviting me, and great to be here.
Well, we're going to kind of go through some of your background first, because what I think is especially interesting is that you arrived in the UK with 150 pounds in your pocket. But in the meantime, you've built a pretty significant, multiple businesses. And I was hoping you could start to share some of your biggest challenges you faced early on.
Yeah, no trouble at all. In fact, it was my mum and dad came with me when I was 15-year-old, and we literally had 150 pounds in their pocket. And we were staying with another, I think, 3 or 4 families in the same house, typical immigrant family story. I knew the value of money and wealth from that day always. I did my degree in computer science, and then I did MBA in City University in London. And while I was doing those degree, etc., so I was actually doing those days, the websites were coming into the picture. So I was learning to code websites and selling to local restaurants and establishments, saying he can create websites for you. And then I was also reselling, on my friends' parents' clothes and everything else on eBay and things like that to make enough money to pay for my school, university fee, etc. So, yeah. So even then, I was my university study days. I think my entrepreneurial journey started because of the situation I was in, because of my financial background. And then after I did the MBA, I joined a couple of businesses, and then I ended up in the Formula One industry and in publishing business within Formula One. And that helped me to build my network within sport industry. So, and I was in that Formula One sector for around 8 to 9 years. And then I started my own business within sport business called iSport Connect, which is now 14 years later, the world's largest private network of sport business professionals. So we got around 26,000 C-level to mid-level executives in sport globally. As part of the membership, we have access to a platform. We do conferences around the world. We have a consultancy business where investors who are trying to get into sport, or brands who are trying to get into sport, giving them the opportunity to study the market and give them an opportunity with the knowledge, experience, and connections we have through our consultancy. So that's iSport Connect. So I've been running that for last 14 years now. Then during COVID, my iSport Connect business went a bit down because obviously, like every other business, it was hit by the lockdown and everything else around it. So that time I was looking at, okay, the iSport Connect business is a service-based business. I didn't have any assets to back it up. So I started looking into real estate business, because I was passively investing in simple buy-to-let flats up until then. And I thought I should start looking at how to create a proper property business or development business. As you do, was reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad and a lot of other books, consuming a lot of YouTube videos and so on. Then I started doing a BRR strategy. That's what we call in the UK. I don't know whether you have the same in the US. Buy below market value, add value by refurbing it, or structurally or on paper, and then rent it out and then refinance and take the money out. So I started buying 1-bedroom flats with a separate kitchen and a big lounge. So you can move the kitchen to the lounge and convert that over the previous kitchen to the second bedroom. So you uplifted the value of the property. So I started doing a lot of that during COVID period, using my own money at the beginning. And then I realized that I can recycle this cash by doing much bigger projects as well. So then I started raising money, private finance. Luckily, I'm in a sports sector, where there's a lot of people with the disposable income and high net worth individuals who are, I was privileged to be in that network, and I got a good reputation within the sports industry. So I used my network, my personal brand, to raise finance for my property business. Until now, I raised around 2.5 or 2.8 million. I used that money to buy the properties, recycle the cash, and give them back. A lot of them then now ask me to reinvest that business fund. So I used private finance to really accelerate my property journey. Now, especially in the last 1 year, I decided to go for a co-living project. I stopped doing buy-to-let flats because it was good to start with, but never gave me that bigger cash flow and the bigger capital appreciation. I decided to go to the next level. So that's what I'm doing. The very premium co-living student apartments in a place called Guildford, which is a very premium town and very near to London. With there's a big university called University of Surrey with 18,000 students. So in the last 10 months alone, I actually built a portfolio of around 10 premium co-living projects with around 65 tenants, 6.5 million. And rent alone, we get around 670,000 gross rental income. We did it within last 12 months. My plan is to double that next year using the private finance and the team I have. So that's where I am now. So I built iSport Connect, which is going really well. But it was actually blessings for me to start another business, which is now property business. And now the iSport Connect is back to where it should be. And I also got on my property. So suddenly I now got these 2 good businesses going really well.
So you started with Rich Dad Poor Dad, and could you talk a little bit about what was that light bulb moment where you realized that real estate investing should be that second business that you really ran with?
Yes. I was actually, one evening, I was watching a YouTube video about, I think it was about finance or preserving wealth and that sort of things. And then suddenly this one of those ads came up with a guy called Samuel Leeds in the UK. First, I thought it was a scam because without using any of your money, you can scale up your property portfolio using others' money and using this strategy called BRR and things like that. First, I thought it was a scam, I didn't really think much of it. And then I keep seeing this ad, and when I'm playing other videos, etc. And then I think by accidentally I clicked on one of those ads, and then I started watching his YouTube videos, and then I started watching a few other, because of the YouTube algorithms. Once you start watching something, then you start getting a lot of similar videos, etc. And because up until then, I thought I have to save a lot of money, use the usual system where you save a lot of money to buy simple buy-to-let flats and sit on it, and you get very little rent, etc. So that was my sort of perception about property investments. And the light bulb moment was getting the ads into my YouTube videos, and then suddenly I start watching different YouTube videos, and then somebody suggested me to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it was good timing with watching YouTube videos and reading that book. It gave me that light bulb moment to think, okay, you know what, this is much better strategy than a service-based business, which is nothing wrong with that. But every year I have to work hard to bring what I was bringing. Whereas with the properties, you go the capital appreciation and the rental income, etc. So, which is something which I missed with my other business.
It's really interesting. You came from the Formula One background. Is there any lessons you got from the sports world that you brought forward into your real estate investing?
I think, one thing is being persistent, because in sport, if you look at the people who made that 1%, they did it because they worked hard. they also being persistent. They never give up. Something which I always had throughout my life is to never give up. I think being in sport also really helped me because the people in my network who had that sort of similar outlook and perception about things, things can go wrong. Every day you go and play, sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. When you lose, you learn from those mistakes and then try to win next time. And that sort of learning is really helpful for me because I'm from that sector. It really helped me to grow within property business as well.
You built a pretty substantial portfolio in what people would see as kind of a really quick amount of time. Do you base that mostly on your network and those initial relationships? Is that really what put the gas on?
Yeah, I would definitely say a couple of things. One, definitely the investments I got. If I didn't have the money that I got access to, I wouldn't be able to do this for sure, this scale. That's one thing. Second thing is the power team I built. I could take all this credit, but it's the one button. It's not me who did it. Yes, I find deals. I raise money. I do the analysis of each deal, but then the rest is up to the people behind me, which is my architect. So every deal we go and see. If I like something, I call my architect and say, okay, can you come meet me? Let's go and see it and see the potential. My structural engineer, my broker, he's brilliant. Without him, I wouldn't be able to get these very creative deals. My solicitor, because some of those deals, the way I negotiate those deals is that I'm a cash buyer. I can finish within 28 days. I can complete within 28 days. That's why you should work with me. That's why you should accept my offer. The speed and the cash element. In order to do that, I also need a good solicitor to do that because a lot of solicitors, at least in the UK, the property solicitors are known for not being very communicative and fast. So I got a really good solicitor. So I built a power team of people who can really help me to achieve what I want to achieve. So it's a combination of the investments I raised and the power team that really helped. And also the location I looked at, because rather than me going around the country, I just looked for one location and tried to learn much about that location. So in the last 12 to 14 months, I've been focusing on this town called Beeford, which is 20 minutes from London and 30 minutes from my house. It really helped me to understand the area, the market, the demand, the supply, everything else, even getting good deals from people. So I don't get from open market. I get deals. Even the agents, they call me before they actually put it on the market because they trust me now. I created a brand. One of my properties, every project we have a brand visible there, and I try to get in more in community in Guildford, etc., to really make sure my brand is in the top of the mind recall. If somebody wants to sell something quickly, they know they can trust this brand. So they come to that brand rather than not just me. It's my brand, my properties group. So I really worked hard to establish that. And that really helped me to accelerate my journey in the last 12 months.
It sounds like you're very strategic in a lot of aspects of your real estate business. Not only like you focus on a particular area, you built a really strong team. Let's start with the team element there. Did you take a moment and assess your strengths and you're trying to fill gaps? How do you build this power team that you were referring to?
So it's similar to the other business as well, my sport business. I know my strengths and my weaknesses. I don't know a lot of things in even my other sport business and also in property business. But you don't need to know it. Your role is to be the CEO, to be the captain of the ship. And then you find the right people to help you to navigate that journey. And that's how I do my business. Even sometimes my builders try to explain to me about things which I don't need to know. There are certain things I don't need to know. I do give them trust and the control of what they do. And delegation is so important because a lot of people they like to micromanage. They like to know everything. And I do put trust in these people, and I don't like to micromanage. I give them the freedom, and then they all report to me. So my architect, I completely trust him when it comes to configurations and coming with the drawings on how to maximize a project. But structural engineer, I don't even know most of. But if you show me structural drawings, I have no clue. But I trust the process. I trust them, and they know that I trust them. And we work as a team because it's for them as well. If I do multiple projects, that means multiple businesses for these guys. So it's also good for them. And we work as a team, and I believe in team. The CEO of this business where I'm connecting people, not just the title, but the person to connect everyone together to do this.
So talk about you really are focused on a particular market. Do you think that's really an important strategy to just understand like where you're investing? And I just see a lot of people who get into this. It's kind of more of a shotgun approach. And I'm a firm believer in what you focus on really grows. So the shotgun approach is like trying to swat a fly with a shotgun. It just doesn't work.
I call it shiny penny syndrome. Pennies, the UK say. Everyone look at one thing, oh, there's another thing, it's more interesting. Don't get me wrong, I'm a human being. I do get interested in other strategies, other things. The thing is that I have a mission, I have a project management thing even on my screen saying, I want to achieve this many properties in this many times by this many months, etc. So I'm writing a book. I think you mentioned before we started this. I'm about to start writing a book. It's actually, the title is called Boring Entrepreneur, because I'm an boring entrepreneur. I put everything in the systems and processes and try to stick to that. Every morning I wear the same clothes, same breakfast, everything same, so I don't have to worry about, okay, what should I do? And I can focus on delivering those things. So when I start doing certain things, I just want to really focus on delivering that before I start thinking about the next. Of course, I'll have to look at another strategy, another area, etc. But I know my plan is to stick with exactly the same strategy in the same area until end of 2026. And then 2027 onwards, I have something in my mind to start somewhere else with a different strategy. At this point, I'm just focusing on having my systems, my team and process, everything for this, and keep repeating what I'm doing in the same place and the same things.
Well, Sree, I got to tell you, it's you made me chuckle there for a second, because if people watch this program, I wear pretty much the same clothes day after day. And my wife calls it my uniform. A certain amount of polo shirts, a certain amount of sweatshirts. I just don't want to be bothered with them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jack. I mean, that's so important because otherwise I don't want to get up in the morning and think, oh, what should I wear today? I don't have to have that because I wear my brand all the time. The only thing is when I go to my sport business, I have to wear a suit and it's different. Again, I have a white shirt and a couple of blue suits, so I don't have to worry about that as well.
Just to remind everybody, if you found some value in what we're talking about so far, this show only grows if you share it. So please, if you know somebody in the real estate investing world that could find value in what we're talking about, consider sharing it with them. If you are watching us on YouTube, give us a quick like and subscribe. But most importantly, if you're going to want to connect with Sree directly, find him on LinkedIn. And I'm going to have that as a clickable link in the show notes, but it's Sree Varma. So with all of that being said, I would imagine that another side of your business when it comes to building a team is managing these properties. Do you have a separate team that does that for you, or what tools and processes are you leveraging for that?
The way we do is we have 3 teams, and we have an acquisition team. That's mainly me, led by me, because I have finding good deals, raising finance, all of that. Then I have someone else to help me with that. So just 2 people, me and almost like my assistant. Once we have the acquisition, then we give that to the construction team once it goes through finance and everything else. That's led by two of my colleagues, Ben and Deep. They are the project managers. Once they finish the product, when the construction, when you have the final finished product, we then give to the letting team. So it's led by Tom, my colleague, who manages our letting department. I don't even know my tenants. So like I said, I always want to be that property CEO. Not all I want to know is the numbers and everything else going with it. of course, we want to understand the consumers and the buyer, because we have a product. I mean, yes, it is property, it's a bricks and mortar. At the end of the day, it's a product that we are trying to sell to tenants who are our consumers. So I need to understand the profile of the consumers, the behavior of the consumers, the market, the demand, the competition, etc. So we do try to understand that bigger picture from my letting team, Tom and his team. They provide me the data and everything else, but I don't need to know the ins and outs of what washing machine we have in this particular property or that kind of thing. So there's other carpet or tiles, whatever like that it goes with it. So they manage all of that, looking after the tenants. I believe in systems and tools and everything else. So everything we do, we have tools. So we have project management Monday.com for management of the project from beginning to the end. But different tools, which I might not be able to mention here, for tenant management and for the data protection and things like that. So we have everything in the funnel, just making sure so automated as much as possible. And also with that, not only we can save time, but also you get a lot of good data which you can use to analyze your end consumer profile and demand.
You've mentioned a few times there's a definite focus on your position in working on the business instead of in the business. Is there anything that you do to make sure that, because it becomes a slippery slope for us entrepreneurs, you get into the details, and next thing you know, your time has been sucked away. Like, what are you doing to maintain that level of separation?
So it's something which I learned from the other business, iSpoke Connect, because I was actually in the business rather than on the business. I was the guy who was doing everything, even if we had a good team. When I started one of my properties group, I wanted to make sure I have time for myself and my family. I have kids who are teenagers, so I want to spend as much time as possible in the evenings with them. And so that's one of the reasons why I started one of my properties group, because with my iSpoke Connect, I couldn't do that because I had to travel around the world, and there's a lot of meetings in the evenings and weekends. So now I've got a team who run iSpoke Connect for me, and I move to one of my properties most of my time. Even then, I'm being very cautious about being on the business rather than being in the business. So yes, sometimes I have to work hard, do certain roles which I shouldn't be doing, but I am trying to avoid those things. Every Sunday evening, I go through my things to say, okay, these are the things I should do for this week, and try to calendarize everything so that even I have a downtime where I don't speak to anyone. I just want to focus on strategy and things like that. Especially I do that on Thursday afternoon, because then you got Friday to if you do that on Fridays, then you forget about it. You go Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday again. So I do on Thursday afternoon. I have a couple of hours. You can call me. It's like airplane mode, and I just focus on thinking loud on the business and everything else. So I do that, and then Friday, obviously, again, I have one more day to action them some of those elements. So I think that really helps me to be on the business.
Circling back on your private money and how you've managed that, what advice would you give them in raising capital for any of their projects?
People, when they say, oh, yes, it's easy for you to raise money because you're from the sport industry and you're a networker and everything else. And I always told them that you don't know until you ask who in your network has money. So I always say, if you are reluctant to ask somebody money for your project, don't ask them. But go for a coffee or beer with them and say, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm into properties now, and I'm doing amazing projects, and I'm raising money, and I use the money to fund this, and then I give them X amount of returns. If you do know anyone, let me know, because they get good returns from this. And if you know anyone who is interested, let me know. I'm happy to share more information. You're not selling to them, or you're not asking money from them. You're saying, if you know anyone interested. I've done that first few times as well. And they actually say, I would be interested. Tell me more about it. So it could be your best friend, could be your cousin, your uncle, your dentist, or your doctor. A lot of people put money in their bank account and they're not earning much from interest rates, etc. So it could be anyone. It could be anyone. You don't have to have that network of very wealthy. If you look at some of the people that I got money from for the property business, they're not very wealthy people. They're just normal people. They work hard, they put money in savings, and they realize that it's not earning. Because if more high net you are, you're more sophisticated investor. So you probably wouldn't invest in something like this, because they have already got a portfolio of different investments, etc. This is for somebody who potentially leave money in the bank and not earning much. So that could be everybody and everyone that you know in your network. Could be a friend, best friend, like I said, or it could be your mom and dad.
I always find it interesting when people are almost reluctant to even tell other people what they do, let alone tell them about the project that they're working on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's because a lot of people don't like to sell or ask money. So the best way is not to sell or not to ask for money. Just talk about your project, and you're saying that, just say that you're raising money, and this is, you're giving good returns for that money. If you know anyone in you interested in this, please let me know. So you're not selling, you're not asking for money, and that's one of the best ways to actually have somebody else meet to be a mentor when he wants to get into properties. And reluctantly, I said yes because I didn't have much time. So we did that training, and I said to him, go and speak to your best friend to start with, and just say exactly a pitch like this and see what he says. And he actually got not a lot of money, but his best friend said, I got some money, and why don't I put some? So it worked for him as well.
So, with all of that, could we learn from some of your mistakes? Like early on, I would imagine. Could you tell us what was one of your biggest mistakes, lessons learned? And
Yeah, so one of the things, because I was learning from YouTube and, I didn't have a mentor or somebody to go. So I was kind of learning by doing it. When I started, I thought you have to have properties with below market value to make things work. Now, when I look at it, you don't need to have everything to be below market value. You need to go to the end value and then look backwards to see if this deal will work. I was looking from, okay, if it's in the market for, I don't know, 500,000, I have to get it for 450,000. Otherwise, this deal won't work. That was the perception I had. And that was a mistake because I ended up losing some good deals because I was thinking that that's not the right way. So that was I would say that was one of my biggest mistakes where I lost a couple of really good deals because of this perception that every deal has to be below market value. And I didn't look the other way. End value, the GDV, the gross development value of the project, and then minus, or the cost involved. And then if the offer price works, it can be the asking price or even over the asking price. That was one of my mistakes. And I learned from it after losing a couple of really good deals.
we, again, as went through the similar exercise because you get, so, as humans, maybe we get caught up on we want that deal
Yes.
instead of if the numbers work, why wouldn't we just grab it?
Yeah.
Identify or establish our buy box and go with it. It's like we get hung up, or even like I've been reluctant to buy deals from a wholesaler because how dare they make that much money on it? But if the number works, why wouldn't I take it?
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. And also, I know we kind of touched upon it. It's being emotionally attached to these deals. These are businesses, these are numbers. And just on that bit as well, every property we have done at the end, yeah, I feel like, oh, I should dress it up and put all the furnitures and everything else so that even I should feel like I can live there. At the beginning, because it was my first couple of deals, I wanted to make sure that everything is fantastic and almost like it felt like hotel rooms. And I always spend on furnitures and things like that. The best mattresses and the best beds and everything else. And these tenants, they will come and within 3-4 months, they just destroy the place anyway. It was only first one or two. Then I quickly learned my lesson from there.
They have all these thoughts of doing this fix and flipping, and they've really fallen in love with the property and project more than running it like a business.
Yeah. especially when you do it for the first time, I think.
You and I could just probably continue to keep chatting, but before we jump into the rapid fire and close out this episode, is there anything we should have tried to hit on?
I can't think of anything.
Well, if you want to continue this conversation with Sree, would follow him on LinkedIn. Look for Sree Varma. I'm going to have that as a clickable link in the show notes. But if you're ready, Sree, we'll close out this episode with some rapid fire.
Yes, please do.
What lies do real estate investors often tell themselves?
Oh, the biggest lie is you need a lot of money in real estate. You don't.
You can start with nothing. If you could go back in time and give yourself younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't follow the system. System is designed to tell you to not to take risk. Go to college, get a job, work hard, buy your first property, first buy an expensive car. Don't take any risk. Just that's how the system teaches you. And I think don't follow that system and take risk if you want to be successful.
Do you have a book recommendation?
So the one I have is, I'm trying to find where it is. A Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley. It's about your personal brand. It's a fascinating book, which I'm reading now.
And then finally, what single strategy, process, or tool have you implemented that has had the biggest time-saving impact?
If I can say two, one as a tool and the other one is the strategy. The tool is definitely, it's not something new, but we all do, is the video call tools and platforms like Zoom and Teams, because the amount of times I had to fly to, I don't know, Madrid for one meeting, you spend all day on a plane and everything else just for a 45 minutes meeting. And thanks to the platforms like Zoom, etc., you can do that 45 minutes and then rest of the day is yours. So I really like that tool. And there's a number of other tools which I use, but that's definitely changed my life. In terms of strategy, I would say is delegation, because my first business, like I said, I was very control freak and I was trying to do everything myself. But delegating certain roles really helped me to scale up and be focused on being on the business.
You can find Sree on LinkedIn. I'm going to have that as a clickable link in the show notes, but really appreciate your time. This was great.
It's a pleasure.